Now, South Africa Local Government Association, Salga, has come forth to say many of the decisions in policies and legislation of the electricity sector have made it extremely difficult for municipalities to fulfill their mandate. Fears around recently implemented legislation have risen and may lead to significant revenue losses for municipalities. Energy writer for Business Day, Denene Erasmus, has detail on that and more. Denene, thank you so much for your time and a good afternoon to you.
Hi, happy to join you.
It's very interesting to find out what the role of municipalities, ideally, maybe even according to the Constitution, according to the general understanding, the role of municipalities in electricity and distribution, what that ideally is supposed to be.
Okay, so let's just start by running through some numbers. So municipalities have to fund about 90% of their budgets on their own. And they rely on the reselling of electricity that they buy from Eskom and then sell to their customers to fund about a third of this portion of the funding that they need to fulfill all of their other mandated tasks. So one of the key issues here is, so municipalities have a constitutional mandate for the reticulation of electricity within municipalities. And this is one of their big issues. So I think we've already spoken about this before, the Electricity Regulation Amendment Act that was recently signed into law by President Cyril Ramaphosa. This proposes a definition of reticulation that would strip municipalities of this constitutional right, as it would allow households and businesses within municipalities to buy electricity from private producers. So then producers would take over the trading and possibly distribution of electricity that municipalities are arguing should be only within the municipality's power. So that is really the issue that's at stake here. It's municipalities in this position where they are saying they are responsible for a lot of the last mile implementation of the Climate Change Act and also the energy transition. But they are at risk of these new laws that will liberalize the energy market, really robbing them of one of their main sources of funding.
Interesting here, I guess, Denene, the question for me is then how did we get here? If we know that, municipalities rely on these revenues to sustain themselves, how did we get to a point where, first of all, Eskom distributes a lot of their electricity, and then also that, the Electricity Regulation Amendment Act would also lead to liberalization to this degree? It sounds like a lack of cohesive, I guess, planning on our part.
So this specific clause, according to Salga, was inserted after the public participation process, and this is why it's now such a big area of contention. And it is difficult. It is a challenging scenario because South Africa is now for the first time moving to an open electricity market where there can be multiple players as we are moving away from the Eskom monopoly. So I think this has been one of maybe the unintended consequences of what we've seen in the regulatory space. And now suddenly we are sitting with a crisis that has been a long time in the making. So we're already seeing municipalities struggling just to fulfill their basic mandates and fulfill the basic service delivery that's expected of them. And now this added issue where yes, under the new dispensation, municipalities could benefit by becoming generators of electricity and selling on that electricity. So there's definitely this possibility for them to benefit from the liberalization of the energy market. However, very few are in a position to financially and also in terms of other types of skills that they need to really now immediately take advantage of that opportunity to such an extent that it would make up for whatever revenue they might lose in the process.
It's also very interesting here because what we know is that climate change response, Denene, is going to need well-capacitated and well-funded municipalities. And I think it all speaks of energy. It speaks of the energy transition, and it speaks of course, being able to distribute electricity here. It sounds like there's lots of work to be made here, and that even these new legislations that we've released to respond to load shedding, to get us to where we're trying to go in terms of being a greener electricity market here. It sounds like we're maybe not we're not getting it all right the first time. It tells me we're going to have to come back a second time around to get it right, and that's a bit of a concern.
I think this was also mentioned at the two-day conference earlier this week, that one of the things that municipalities are really asking for is for government and through the JET project management unit to do a readiness assessment of municipalities, because under the Climate Change Act now, every municipality is supposed to develop its own climate change response plan. And now you can imagine we've got many municipalities that aren't even able to do refuge collection. So now you're asking a defunct municipality to come up with a very sophisticated climate change response plan. So that's why these municipalities are calling for this readiness assessment, so that we can get a much clearer idea of where the real capacity needs are, what training will need to happen, and what needs to be put in place so that municipalities are actually able to fulfill these new duties that they have under this new legislation.
Of course, the role of Salga here is to, of course, advocate for the role of municipalities in all around development here. But I'm also wondering, Denene, based on, the two-day conference that you attended and what we know to date, are we all taking stock of the risks that these defunct municipalities, do pose to stability in South Africa, economic, political, social, and when we think of climate change events and we think of electricity distribution here, is the conversation had with that weight in mind?
It seems that it's moving in that way. I mean, we just saw the Auditor General reporting yesterday on new audit findings on municipalities, and really, again, sort of very dire findings there that we really do have very few municipalities that are even able to achieve a clean audit. So I think that definitely the realization is setting in the way that national government is talking about this as well, that they do realize that there is a crisis on the local government level that needs to be addressed in terms of capacity, in terms of the type of financial management at local government level that urgently needs to be addressed. And I think we've spoken about this before. There's even talks of putting in place a structure similar to the National Energy Crisis Committee to look at the issues at the municipal sphere and to see what needs to be done.
Well, Denene, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. I know you'll keep your pulse within the developments here. Thank you for your time today. That was Denene Erasmus, Energy Writer for Business Day.